Hello, can you hear me? Hello, hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Okay, so like I am also not able to hear you. So
Um,
no, no,
I
I
can't
can
seem
hear
to
you.
be able to hear you.
I
I'm testing my device. Sound seems everything is working correctly. Um, yeah, I can't. Yeah, I can't hear you. I'm not sure why. Um, yeah, I just tested my. Well, it seems you can hear me. I just tested my device. Sounds everything is good. Um,
so can you just refresh the
I'm
page
not
once?
sure if it's on your side or my side.
Uh,
One
like
second.
can you refresh the page?
Yeah, it's working correctly.
Can you refresh the page?
Um, yes, one second. Let me I still can't hear you.
Okay,
I
so
can.
now can you hear me?
Yes. How you
Okay,
doing?
okay,
Sorry.
okay, good. So
Uh,
yeah, so this is the problem statement. You can go through it and just
yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah, I'm reading that out right now. I see. Sorry, I'm not this good in Java, but I'm gonna try.
okay.
I'm still
So
new to program.
oh,
Yeah, I'm still new to programming, but I have an idea on how to do this, but I'm not entirely sure if it's correct.
okay, so like,
Um,
do you code in C++ or any other language?
Python.
Python. Okay, you can do that also.
Yes. One second. Let me switch to Python. Python here.
All
Yeah,
right.
I'm still brand new, so let me try thinking that out. Um, on February, I wanna get away. My,
So like, do you want any help?
yeah, I would really appreciate it. I'm still brand new to programming, so I'm still not
All right, all
exactly.
right.
So
So
what I thought of doing is nested loop. The first loop grabs the first element, and the second loop grabs the next element and multiply that.
all
Um,
right. So
Multiply that, and then iterate in the next loop, the second loop. Sorry. So the first loop gonna contain the first elements only. The second loop gonna contain the next element. And then once multiply the first one, the second loop will iterate on the next element and multiply it again. Then the first loop gonna iterate to the next element. It's just gonna be a, yeah. I'm still working on
so
that.
like you want to tell that there are like only three elements. So you will go to first 10, then 2, then multiply them, and for 10 you will
Yes.
also like come from here and multiply them.
I, yeah. Let me try to write that. Maybe I this if I in um range length of array, um, and if j in range of
Hey, don't you think that
length.
your code should be written from here, like from the past statement?
Sorry.
Like, don't you think that your code should be written after the past statement? There is written your code goes here. So I think you should write your code after.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. Yes, yes. Sorry. Um, it was right here, or yes, something like this. Yes. If gonna be something like this.
All right.
So it's gonna be I array I. It wouldn't have to multiply by itself, right? It doesn't get
Yeah,
multiplied by. It's just multiplied by the next element.
by all the other
So
elements, not only the next
yes,
element, but the previous ones also.
yes. So multiply by array j plus one, and um, then well, that's the part I'm not entirely sure on how to iterate to the next element after we multiply. So I thought of creating. Um,
So like here you can create one variable that will store the all the product of all the elements except that
yeah,
one.
I thought of creating a list first.
Yeah,
I
you can
initialize a
do that
list,
also. Right.
element equals 0, then element will equal um, the value of this array. Then we append the element to the list, so we can return that later. Um, and then we j plus plus, and once this entire thing is done, we move to I plus plus. Oh, I don't think there is this. And finally, once the entire loop is done, we return the list li. Um, I'm not sure if this entirely
Okay,
correct.
so like here in line number 9, what have you done?
So on 9, that's where I'm multiplying the element. I'm saving that into the element variable, and I'm
So
appending
for,
that
for
to
this
the
example,
list.
there are only two elements. That's why you are multiplying. But suppose there are more than two elements, like 8, 10 to 15, let's say 17. Then what should you do? Because in the constant you can
Well,
see that there could be multiple elements. So the
well,
length.
that's yeah, that's what the j plus plus is. So once it multiplied, find the j plus plus, then multiplies I by j. Uh, yeah, I think yeah, you're correct. Uh,
So you should take your element
oh,
variable here.
it's not. Sorry, it's not j plus plus. It
No,
should
no.
be
You can
j
take your
plus one.
variable here, and every time you multiply, you can uh, uh, multiply the product from the pre-calculated product.
So could you show me? I'm not
Okay, so
entirely sure I
if your
understand.
element could be like here, let's say there is your element, and
Yes,
it is like initialized as one, and if you every time
yes.
do element multiply equal to array of uh, array of j,
Oh, okay. I see.
you can do that, and there could be one edge case when the j would be equal to I. That case you will just skip that step. Like in this case, when you are multiplying with all the other element, you should not consider 8 here, right? And same with the 10. In case of 10, you will multiply 8 by 2 by into 15 into 17, not by 10. So that thing you should consider.
element multiplied by li then. So how do we iterate to the next element?
Uh, this
So
I loop
is it
will iterate from 0 to
the first?
0 to
Oh, it's already element. Okay, I see. Yeah,
and let's
so
say
this
for
is a dump
example
function.
I is 2, so this index is pointed by I, right? So you will loop through all the way to 0 to 1 2 3 4 0 to 4. Yeah, and
Yeah, I
every time if
understand. Yeah.
at every index you will multiply that by element which is initially 1, so your element would be first would be, let's say, for index for this index I am telling, right? So your element would be first 8, then you will multiply it by 10, so your element will be 80. Then you will skip 2, as we don't need to multiply that by 2. So
Okay.
when your I will be equal to j, I will be equal to j, then you will skip that just by doing continue or that kind of thing. So you will
Okay.
do that.
So if I equal j, then
Yeah,
continue.
that
Else.
would be done here.
Okay.
and and every time you are multiplying this, your product will increase. First it was 8, let's say, then 8 multiplied by 10, it would be uh, 80. After that you will skip 2 part because this condition will satisfy them. So
Okay.
you will not multiply that by 2, and after that you will multiply the pre-initialized element by 15. So 80 multiplied by 15 is how much? 15 30, so 12, I'm not sure. Okay, then we
Yeah.
will multiply
Yeah.
1200 into 17.
I
That,
get your point. Yes.
yeah. So you will loop through all the indexes just by doing that. That was the example for 2, and for 15 you can do the same. For 17 you can do the same, and at the end of the jth loop, you will store the element in that index of your answer, which is list here li.
Yes.
That
Okay.
way you can do that. So yeah, that was pretty much it.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna have to work
like
more
before
on
doing
it.
the coding part, have you understand the logic?
Yeah, I do understand the logic. Yeah,
So
I,
can you
I,
tell me the time complexity which is used here?
I don't know how to calculate that.
Okay, all
Uh,
right. So the time
yeah, sorry.
complexity is calculated by the elements that are present in the uh, array. If the element in the array is, let's say, n, which is in this case our example n was 3, right? 1
Yes.
2 and 3.
Yes.
So what are we doing? We are for every element we are iterating through all the other elements. So for every element I, we are iterating through all the elements. Let's say the number of elements is n, right?
Yes.
So how many I are there? There are n number of I mean indexes. I is representing the indexes. For
Yes.
8 we are
So it's
calculating 10 and
three and
2,
that's it.
and for 10 also we are calculating the other 2, and 2 for 2 also we are calculating the rest part. So for each index we are calculating n number of we are doing n number of operation. So if the number of element is n, then for n element how much we are doing? For I element, for one element we are doing one operation for the ith element, and for n element how much we are doing? N multiply by n, right?
So n square
So
or
the time complexity
two
would be
n,
big of n square,
two n, two n. Oh yeah. Uh, is it yeah? O n square.
right?
Yes. Yes.
So that is actually the brute force or the naive approach for for solving this problem. There is one optimized way of solving this problem in, let's say, big O of n, uh, which is
Okay.
just by traversing one, not in the nested for loop. How can you think about this approach?
Well, I was thinking actually if we remove the nested loop and we kept the first loop and we set element to be, I think it's gonna still gonna work if we set element to be I. So the same logic can work without this loop. If we set element to be I and then something like this, but the if statement over here, j plus one. What I want a second. Oh, yeah, that.
Like I can't understand what are you trying to say. Like what is your logic for being that in big of it?
Well, the same logic we talked about when we have the nested loop, but still gonna work if we just memorize the first element into the variable and we multiplied it by the next element. But the if statement over here, but if the element is, oh, sorry,
You are going in the right direction. Like if we have the pre-calculated multiplication product of these two, then we can store that in the answer of index 2. That is the thing. But what for the middle element? Like we don't we have multiplied I mean product of the left part, but what about the right part?
well, that's what I'm thinking about
So
right
can you
now.
think about an approach where we can get the right part also?
I can't come up with
Okay,
anything. Sorry.
all right. So there is a concept of prefix sum and suffix sum. Have you heard of it?
What is it?
Prefix sum that has been used in many problems.
I'm having a hard time hearing you. Is it okay if you typed it down?
All right. So if we calculate the multiplication or the product of all the elements from left to right and store them in a array, let's say. So what would be that? First of all, we don't have any element. So for in the left of 8 there are no element, right? So
Yes.
for 8 its left has no elements,
No.
so we can store one here because there might be element on the right. So if we multiply that by 1, that would give us the
The
uh,
same
whole
number.
product. That would be that part's answer. So
Yes.
we'll store 1 here. What can we store after that? For 10, in the right there is in the left there is 8, right?
8.
So
So you still.
only 8. So the here we will store 8 multiplied by the previous one. 8 multiplied by 1, which is 8 eventually. So and for 2 what can we store? For 2 we can store 10 multiplied by 8, right?
By 8. Yes.
So
And for the next one, we multiply 10 by 8,
10
2.
multiplied by 8, and for the next there is no next element, so we don't have to consider other elements, and that is only for the left part that you have said. But how can we calculate the right part also? That is the challenging part. Like that is not the challenging part, but we need to figure it out. So if we want to calculate the right part of 2, how many elements are in the right of 2?
There's 0 elements, so
There are no element.
just one.
So if we want to calculate uh, the product that can be formed on the right, that would be 1, because we can't use 0 here, because if we multiply 0 by the left part, that would be 0. So that way we should always give 1 here. And after that, what can we do? For 10, how many are there in the right? I mean, what is the product
One
of
element.
element in the
One
right?
element, which is 2 by 1,
2,
which
2,
is
2
2.
multiplied by 1. So that would be 2.
2.
And after that, what about 8?
It's,
We
it's 10
multiply 10
multiplied
by
by
10 by
2.
the pre-calculated product. So that would be 10 multiplied by 2.
And the next one will be 10 multiplied by
So after 8, there are no more element in the left side.
uh,
So it stop here. So what have we got? We have got 10 multiplied by 2, which is 20. So let's write 20 here. And there it is 80. So can we say that for 8, the multiplication is just 1 is the left part and 20 is the right part. 20 is multiplication of the right part, right? So can we say that if we uh, multiply these two, left part and right part, that is given in the question, that we need to find the multiplication of the left part and the right part only. So if we have these two array, we can do one thing, that we multiply 1 by 20. That is the left part and the right part, which is, we have already calculated. We can do that, right?
yes, yes,
So for this index, what can we do? We can multiply this part by this part.
by then the middle part and
So
the
this will
right
give
multiplied
8
by
and
the
2.
left.
For this part, what can we do? For 2, for 2 we have
We
80
multiplied by
here and we have 1 here.
81 one.
So we can multiply these two. So we are multiplying diagonally. But what can we do if we reverse this array? This one. If we reverse this one, what is the reversal of that? The reversal is nothing but 22 and 1.
22 1.
Now if we just omit that part, we can directly say that for 8, the multiplication would be 1 multiplied by 20. For 10, the multiplication would be 8
I
multiplied
see.
by 2. For 2, the multiplication would be 80 multiplied by 1. Right?
So multiply by the reverse of the
Right.
next element. Okay.
So that was the approach for doing that. Do you want to code it out?
And also to do this, we're gonna need to do two loops, right?
Sorry.
So I'm trying to apply the logic you just showed me, but to apply it in actually coding, we're gonna need to use two loops, right?
You can do two loops, or there is way by which you can uh, work. You can make this in one loop. But yeah, it's fine if you use two loops. That is eventually giving you big of n time complexity. That is same as using one loop. No, doesn't
I
matter.
see. I see. I still need a lot of work on it. Sorry.
Okay.
Uh,
I would say, just you think about the approach. I am just coming in 1 minute, right?
yes. Yep. Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna take a lot of time thinking about it. I'm sorry, I'm still brand new to programming. If you, I don't want to take too much of your time. If you want to start on the other problem, the one I was
Okay, okay. All
assigned
right, all right.
to, um, uh, doesn't matter what language. Seems like you already know a lot. Um, so the idea of this problem is you get a function that has the source string and the target string, and both strings are equal in length. um, you have to return a list that contains the special elements, special letters or chars from each string. So as the first string A B C D E F G and the second one A B D E F F G H, you loop through the first one and you loop through the second one. Uh, the way I thought of it is also a nested loop, which probably not what we want, but if I equal letter A and J equal letter A, then add this to the list. Same, go through it. If you find something not in source and not in target, add the minus sign behind it.
Okay,
If it's in target and not in source, add a plus sign behind it and send it to the list.
all right.
Uh,
So I
the
need
way
to
I thought of it,
I need to add the minus sign of the character from the source, right?
yes, the way I thought of it is also a nested loop.
All right.
Yeah, I thought we loop through the first one, then we loop through the second target, and we find the the if the elements are equal, we just add them to the list. If it's not, like if we got to C and it's not C on the other one, we add a minus sign to the C and we send it to the list. If it's D in here and it's not D in here, then we add an F sign plus sign to it.
Okay, what about the plus sign? Like, can you repeat?
So if it's let's say, so we got to F over here, right? It's not F on the target, so we add a plus sign. So there's an extra character.
See.
So if it's, so let me type this, maybe F in source and not in target, add minus.
Okay, so C is not present in the target. That's why we have written C here, minus C here.
Yes.
And for the
Uh,
D is present here, but not here. Like
so we add a plus.
not at that index.
So yes, and the opposite, if the element is char in target and not in source, we add a plus sign.
All right. So E was
Yes.
not there. So we have used minus C. And for if was present in both of them, so we don't need to worry about that. And after that if, because because there is one if and there are two if, right? So we have
Yes.
less element, then we can use plus sign, and if we had more element, so we can use minus sign. That's the thing I believe.
Yes.
So the approach that comes to my mind is, yeah, the thing you have said, that we can iterate for every element. We can see that if A is there or not, and we can just write that. that
Yeah,
that is
I
that is the thing, right? We can use that also. But if we want to make it in big of n time complexity, that was a big of n
the
square approach, right?
yeah, that's what I'm thinking about it. The one
So
the my mode
the
nested
thing
loop brings O
the thing
square.
the thing we'll use here is a frequency map. Like, we can use a map or we can use a vector. What it will do, it will store all the frequency of the source. Like, if there is a map of, let's say, which will store key as character and value as integer. So let's now name this as frequency of source, because it will store every frequency of every element in the source. what can we do? We can traverse through the source, right? And we can increase the frequency of that character by one. So for the first time, we can increase frequency of a by one, right?
Yes.
So what map does is map store a key and a value. So the key would be here, the key would be one a here, and
A.
and corresponding to a, it will store one. After that, it will go to b, same here, corresponding to b, it will store one here. Corresponding to C, it will also store 1. Corresponding to D, also 1. Corresponding to E, F, G, all are 1 here. So after that, we will move to target. In target, we will do the same but in a different map. Let's say the name of the map would be something like frequency target. And there also we will increase the uh, key value of the corresponding character by 1. So A would be 1, B would be 1, D would be 1, F would be 1, F, then here F will be 2 because there are 2 F. So frequency will increase by 1. And frequency of F will be 2, G will be uh, G would be how much? G would be 1, H would be 1. Now we will traverse from here. This is the last traverse. So how many traverses we did? We did total 3 traverses. One for storing the source character in our map, one for storing the target one, and another one for again traversing through source. We will do what? We will check that if frequency of A is present or there is any element that is A in the frequency of target. So there is, as there is A, so our frequency of target would be how much? That, okay, so just are you understanding like what am I trying to say, or like,
I'm understanding the logic of the map, and so well, what I don't understand, well, yeah, you're talking about frequencies, and if it's different, then you increase the frequency, right?
right? So
Yes.
I think that that is what the question asking, right? If we, sorry, why is not working? So yeah, we'll traverse through a whole array and decrease the frequency by one. And after that, if we find that okay, there is a element that is not present in source, but that is present in target, then we'll use plus sign. And if it's not the case, then we'll simply uh, store that one character there, and we'll decrease our frequency by one for that element.
I
So,
see.
do you want me to code it out?
No, I understand. I'm still processing the logic in my head. I. It's my first time learning about map, so I'm still trying to understand
Okay,
how
so
the logic
map,
works.
what map does is map. Uh,
It matches like a key with a value.
yeah, map
Yes.
stores a corresponding key to the value. The value is character here. Okay, the key is character here, and the value is the corresponding integer, which will store the
I
frequency
see.
for this case. So if we see the frequency map for source, not the target one.
Different than the target, then
Yeah,
yeah.
there will be two maps. So let me just do a dry run. I think we have time, right?
Yes. We have like 10 minutes or more.
So we will traverse from the beginning of the source to the end. So we'll store one corresponding to A, one corresponding to B because there is a B. After that there is a C. So we'll store one corresponding to C. After that, sorry, after that we'll store D. There is a D right here. So we'll store one corresponding to D, and after that we'll store one E corresponding. one corresponding to E, and after that we'll store F. I mean one corresponding to F also, because every element is occurring one. So G also corresponding to G will store one in the map. That is the case for the frequency is frequency element of the source, right?
Mhm. Yes, and you do that
That
the same
also.
thing on the target too.
Uh, okay, so let me just.
But except this time, if it's different, you increase the frequency and you compare the frequency maps
No,
later.
no. In this case also I'm doing the same. I'm doing the same for the target also. This time for target. So for target, let me just copy it. I think there. No. So for target, what I am doing? For A, I am increasing one. For B, I am increasing one. See, this all are initialized as zero. If we initialize the map by character to integer, it will store every store a zero corresponding to every character. So if we increase that by one, that means that it has become one. So from
Okay.
for A this was one. For B we store one. For D we have stored one. We have not any C here. Have you have you observed that there is no C? So we can't
We have
increase C. So we need to remove that part. So if there is a F, but there is no E. So we need to remove E. But there is
okay, and those are maybe the
there
negative ones.
yeah, there is one F. Then after that we again have to increase our F by one, because there is one more.
Okay, because there's a different another one,
Yeah,
and
and
we
after
have H,
yeah
the
we have
last one.
G after that. So okay, let it be there. And after that we have one H. So we'll add one corresponding to H. All right. So this is the
I
map
see.
for frequency of target.
Oh, I see. Okay, I see what you mean. Okay, that's a lot more makes a lot more sense. And now we calculate the frequencies later on. If it's one, we just return that. We append that value to the list.
Right.
If it's two, we add a plus sign. If it's not in there, we add a minus sign.
Now what can we do? We can traverse from beginning to end, as they have same
Yes.
sizes, right? So we can traverse from
Hmm.
0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. From 0 to 6. We will check if A is also in source, A is in source, A is also present in target. That is the case. We will add simply the A, nothing to change about, nothing to worry. After that, we will check for B. Okay, B is present here, B is also present here. So
So we
we
add
don't need
this.
to do anything.
Mhm.
After that,
C is the
we'll check
okay.
for
Now,
C. For C also, no, for C is there, but C is not there. So it will return the frequency as zero. So C has the frequency zero initialized here.
so when it's zero, that's when you add the minus.
So if C is present in the target but not in the source, what can you do? We can add a minus sign to that.
Okay, I see.
After that, D is present here and D is also present in the map. If that is present in the map, that means that okay, there is a D. We don't need to worry about that. After that, we check for E. E is present
E,
here, but E is not here. Uh,
so it will be just like C
So just like
with
C,
the frequency of zero.
sorry,
It will be just like C. It's going to
right.
have a frequency of zero and it's going to have a minus sign.
And for F, we can check that okay, for F there is a there is F, but what is the frequency of F corresponding to that?
So
So
that's going to be two. So we add F and another F with a plus sign.
okay, so just because we have one F, that means that we can still do the operation. So there is F, and there is also f. So we will add f here, and after that g. But g, okay, g is fine. But why this here is plus f? Because f is present there in the target, but
but
if,
it's not present in
so
the
we need to
source.
check for this also, that if targets element are not present in source, that we have to check also. So okay, like this way we'll get plus f, and similarly plus h,
The
and
same.
g is
Yes,
also same. So like, do
the
you want
same
me
for
to
the
code it
edge.
out?
Yes, yeah, the logic is very clear and understandable.
Alright.
Could this work also with two loops instead of two maps? I think it's gonna have a same idea or stack maybe, but not sure.
We can use the map, but there is one more optimized way. Like, if for using map we need to import map. Map takes a lot of space.
Yeah, no, yeah, we don't have to apply it to write it in code. The logic is very clear and
No, no.
understandable. So
Let me just code it. Like,
okay,
that would be much more clear. So
I see.
for we can do two things. We can use a map, but what I prefer is use a vector as a map. So we can see that our map will store only 26, 26 character, right? Not more than 26. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, up to Z.
The alphabet.
That is 26. So if we know the range of the range of the key, then we can use a vector instead of map, but as a map. That would function. The functionality would be same.
Process.
So if
Okay.
I store the character, uh, the index of the character in alphabetical order from 0 to 25, and store
So A
that
B
as the
C will
frequency of
be
that character. So if I do that, then vector of integer, let's say what we have named here, frequency source. Let's do the naming same as with frequency source, and it will consist of 26 uh, integer which were initialized as 0. So 26 integer is initialized as 0. What does that mean? There will be 0 0 0 0 0 0
0,
up to
27, 26
26,
zeros.
and every digit will uh, let us know that, okay, for 0, that means that the character A has the frequency 0. For the next one, the character B has frequency 0. For the next one, C has 0. Right?
Yes.
So just by doing that, we can use a vector instead of map. That would be much more efficient. And frequency of target.
This one for target. Yeah.
Vector frequency target. So we need to look over the source and the target here. Let's say n is the size of both of them. পার্মানেন্ট নেওয়ার মতো নেই কিছু, পার্মানেন্ট নেওয়ার মতো নেই। হ্যাঁ, এগুলো লাগে খুব কাজে। ইয়ে ফেলে দিয়েছে হাজরা। So n is the size of the source as well as the target, as they have the same size. Yeah. So we'll look over n. So let's say I equal to 0, I less than n. Same as the Python. You can use for like, what was that? In range 0 to n. That was something like it. So we'll look over from 0 to n, and for each index, like if you see here, we'll add that to our source frequency, and that to our target frequency. So we'll do that. So frequency of source will store source, and the character would source ith index of the source, and that minus a. That would give us the index that we want to represent for index a. So we'll increase that by one. That basically means that we are increasing frequency of A by one. Just it. Nothing.
So okay, I see.
Not A. There is capital letter, so I have to use capital. And after that, what can I do? If
We did the same thing
same
over
thing
for the.
for target, just by doing that, we are getting the frequency map to vector, and after that we'll loop over it. So for integer I equal to 0, I less than n, I plus plus,
Uh,
that's a
yes.
comma instead of the less than sign, and we'll check for as well as the target and the source, both of them, and we'll store that in a in our vector of string. So let's say vector of string is our answer. String is our answer, and we'll return that at the end. And we'll every time we encounter a digit, we'll check that in the target and as well as the source, and push that string either in the form same as the character, or by adding a plus or a minus sign.
Okay.
So let's
So
just do.
that's where we compute
So
everything.
let's just say that a character uh, source, just name the variable as that, is the character that is pointed by I at that time. So source is pointing to source of I, right? And also another character that is star, let's say, which is a part of target, is pointing to target of I. So initially source is pointing to A and target would be A.
Point onto the A too.
So if frequency source, let's say, frequency source of source minus A, we have to use minus A because we need to go to that index. Like there is only 0 0 0, so how can you go? We need to use minus to decode that. So if frequency of soar, no, we don't need to calculate for soar, I believe. We need to calculate for target. So frequency of target has that element. So if frequency of target minus a is that element, so we can say that okay, this is fine. We will push that element. So let's say our answer for this case was string resultant was that. So we'd add that to a string. So string plus equal result plus equal the character that has been there in source. So yes, so, so that, and after that we'll push back that to our answer. So answer dot push back the result. And if it's not the case, if our frequency of source is different than the frequency of the target, what can we do then? So else if frequency of frequency source of for the target, we need to check it. So I'm getting confused. Suppose at that point if is there but there is no source, And also we need to decrement that. So frequency of target of A that will increase by 1. Because if we again encounter that, then we can't use that. So that is the frequency of the target. Okay, so it's getting confused that time. Both of the elements. That means that if source is A, then we need to check if that is present in target. So frequency of target of this one is greater than 0. That means that this element is present there. Okay, and if frequency, and they both should be same, and source is equal to target. So is equal to target. That was that is what I was missing. So if the same case for the target also. So if frequency of target of that element, frequency of target, frequency of sorry, frequency of source of source A. So if source is pointing to, let's say, D, say F was there and F was not there. So that and F was not. So if frequency of source, so say less than equal to, then I can add a plus to it. So result if is the dot respect result. And there could be one more case that if that is present only in A. So else if so target, so, so, so that means that that is present in target but source, I mean that is present in source but not in target. So that at that time that would add a minus sign to it. So resultant is equal to a minus sign, and after that is equal to, so, answer this work result. Yeah, that would be the case. And if we just run, just run this. Okay, just cross check it once. If at any point there is A here and G here, that means that they are not matching the case. That case, need to decrease that also. So, yeah, this way. Yeah, I think this should work. Let's see. Okay, so it's executing. Still, I am having doubt that we have slightly missed one edge case. The case is, if you see at line number 61, if we are getting two element, like line number 61, can you see that? So,
Yes.
so if we are having same element, uh, like there is a f, but f is having two times here. So G is present in both of them. F is also present in both of them, but one f is extra. So at that case, we need to consider that. So first it would add one minus e, and after that one plus f. Let's just do a run, just run the test, then we'll figure it out. Yeah, as I have to, we are failing the test cases for this one. So it's giving AB minus C. After that, it's not giving D. A minus C.
Oh yeah, it's not doing the extras.
Okay, so the case would be that if the element is present in both of so if target frequency of target of that source minus A is greater than 0, obviously that would be greater than 0, but still we are writing that just to make sure everything works fine. Frequency of source target minus A is greater than 0. That the element is present in both of. So we will just use result plus equal, we'll add that to our result. So answer is so result and decrease both of the frequencies. So and so, so it doesn't matter if there is source or target as they are same. So that if statement should statement. Yeah, so I think this is test again. So it's still AB minus C. Okay, so D is now coming, but minus A is still not. Like, do we have time?
I think we're out of time.
Yeah, so I think we're out of just
Yes.
finish it off here. So, like, do you want to give any feedback? Yeah.
It's slightly after midnight. Midnight. I got classes tomorrow. Um,
Like, do you want to connect
um,
over LinkedIn or anything?
what's up?
Like, do you want to connect over LinkedIn?
Yeah, we can connect over LinkedIn. Yeah, I can leave my connection.
Yeah.
Um, do I put it in the review after this, or do I type it in here? Not sure.
Uh, you can just give it here.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it right now. Um, yes. Uh, so I don't have the app installed. It's been a while since I used it. 1 second.
So, like, do you work in at anywhere?
Well, right now I work in a company called AppDataX. Um,
All right.
uh, I'm still an internship. It's been a while. I'm trying to get a position of their. Yeah, I'm not this good at programming. I'm trying to improve myself by doing more mock interviews.
That is great.
Um, yeah, I'm trying to do as much mock interviews as I could, just because I know my skills in programming isn't this great. So
So, you're doing an internship.
yes, if you wanna give me your LinkedIn username and I can add you, I can't seem to be able to log in right
Okay, so my LinkedIn username is Dhananjay Dev. So,
now. DH.
and do you want the URL? I can do that.
Yeah, it would be good actually if you have an URL just to ensure that I have the correct person.
So, this is the URL. And like I can send you the code after I just check. Like I can't do that right now, but I'll definitely figure it out what I am doing. But the logic is same actually. I think I have done mistake in this two statement, the last two else statement.
Yeah, I think there is something I'm not entirely sure when looking at the test cases. I thought the length of the target and the source is same, but it doesn't seem like it's always the same.
Right,
So that's throwing me off.
right. You need to to handle the cases separately. I'll
Yes.
definitely figure that. Or maybe I will
Okay.
send you the source code later on in LinkedIn.
Great. Yes. 1 second.
So like your company is in. Can you name the place?
It's called app.x. I live in Boise, Idaho. Um, it's called app.x. I basically do web scrapping with Python mostly
So,
for
like
the company.
in Selenium.
Yes, I use Selenium. Yeah, I use Selenium and the Marketplace API most of the time to get the data for the clients. We go to different marketplace, different social media apps. It's kind of easy for my level right now. So yeah,
All right. So you are basically a developer.
yes. Uh,
All right. Best of luck.
and okay, I will add you, and it will be great if you actually can send me the code so I can actually learn from it.
Okay.
Um, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Bye.